Ann Taylor is simply asking the prosecution to show how they zeroed in on her client, Bryan Kohberger, in order to arrest him. It seems like that should have already been made clear by now. Hey everyone, it's Lucky with Unfiltered Lucky. And today I want to talk a little bit about the Bryan Kohberger hearing that happened yesterday. Now, Ann Taylor is still asking the prosecution to clarify why law enforcement arrested her client, Bryan Kohberger. It's been over a year already, and the defense is still confused about how law enforcement zeroed in on Bryan Kohberger. I mean, they followed Bryan Kohberger across country over the Christmas holiday, went through his parents' garbage, and then stormed their house like they were taking down a major kingpin. Now, there needs to be a clear answer as to why that happened. It really shouldn't be that difficult. But Ann Taylor is getting talked in circles. You know, a lot of people will say, but the prosecution already turned over 51 terabytes of information. And that's true. But that doesn't mean that it's 51 terabytes of evidence. This could be 50.9 terabytes of absolutely nothing. I mean, 51 terabytes isn't exactly a great thing. I'd rather have 1 terabyte of actual evidence. She's asking a very simple question. She's still confused as to how law enforcement came to arrest her client. Ann Taylor is an attorney. She understands court paperwork. Yet she's still confused as to how law enforcement was led to her client, Bryan Kohberger. Now think about this. They were looking for a 2011 to 2013 white Hyundai Elantra. Now this car was identified in video footage from an expert with over 30 years of experience doing this. Now, on November 29th, at 12:28 p.m. approximately, a Washington State University officer is looking through the Washington State University computer and comes across a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra. So it's a white Hyundai Elantra, but it's the wrong year. Now, at 12:58, that exact same day, so this is only 30 minutes later, another Washington State University officer is out on patrol and finds a 2015 white Hyundai Elantra parked at an apartment complex in Pullman, Washington. Now, the PCA makes it sound as though these two officers were working separately. So it's just a coincidence that they both found the wrong year Hyundai Elantra on the exact same day, only 30 minutes apart. Two officers working separately both find the wrong car. And it's the exact same car. That's weird because they would have been looking for a 2011 to 2013. But they were both working separately and found the same wrong car, the wrong model year. Now, it would make more sense if the one Washington State University officer found the car in the computer system and then maybe called the officer that was on patrol to go check and see if that car was at the apartment complex in Pullman, Washington. But the PCA does make it sound as though these two officers just happened to find the same car separately at almost the same time. So they follow him across country 2,500 miles to his parents' house in Pennsylvania because he drives a white Hyundai and has bushy eyebrows. That's odd. I mean, they say that his phone was also in the area of Moscow, Idaho, which would make sense. He lives 10 minutes from Moscow, Idaho. So it would make sense that his phone would be in that area. But after finding this white Hyundai, they decided to follow this man 2,500 miles across country. He has no criminal history other than, his dad teaching him a lesson and reporting him to police about stealing his sister's cell phone 10 years ago. That's his only criminal history. I mean, I hardly feel like that would be an indication to law enforcement that this man was definitely capable of committing a quadruple homicide. So they go through his trash and watch his movements at his parents' house in Pennsylvania. And then they receive a tip from the FBI that basically lets them know that the DNA that they found in the garbage belongs to Bryan Kohberger's dad, and that DNA is a match to the DNA that they found on the sheath at the crime scene. So this was the confirmation that they needed to go in and arrest Bryan Kohberger. So how did they not use the IgG information? They keep saying that the IgG is irrelevant, but it was key to Bryan Kohberger's arrest. All that they had was male DNA on the knife sheath. So when it was confirmed that Bryan Kohberger's dad's DNA was a match to the DNA on the knife sheath, that's how they were able to put the two together. That's how they were able to take Bryan Kohberger into custody, because they were able to link the DNA from the knife sheath to his dad. So how do you use a process to arrest a suspect and then just say, oh, that's irrelevant. That doesn't matter anymore. We don't want to show our work. Just trust us. That doesn't make sense. It seems as though they're having a hard time pulling their answers together to explain exactly why they arrested Bryan Kohberger and the steps that they took to get there. Now, Ann Taylor did get caught up a little bit because she did mention that, she kind of basically said that she would like to see all of the discovery before she gives the courts a complete alibi. Now, I can understand why she got called out on this by the prosecution, because it would make sense as to, why it wouldn't really be fair to wait until all of the discovery was released in order to give a full alibi, because then you have all of the evidence in front of you. So if you state an alibi after you know all of the evidence, then you could have just shaped that alibi around the evidence that that the prosecution has. So I was kind of surprised that Ann Taylor said that out loud. Something else that caught my attention that Ann Taylor said is when she was talking about not receiving all of the video, and they were referencing this video, and Ann Taylor said, not the video of Bryan's car. So I thought it was strange that she said it like that. I mean, I feel like the idea is for her to prove that that wasn't Brian Koberger's car. The one thing that I notice is that Ann Taylor continues to say, oh, I know it's not the prosecution's fault. And I know that, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to say anything mean. But it kind of is the prosecution's fault, it seems. I feel like the prosecution was saying that they were ready to go to trial this summer. But yet their evidence is scattered all over the place. The prosecution doesn't even have all of their evidence. So they can't turn that over to the defense. So how would they have been ready to go to trial this summer with their evidence scattered all over? In my opinion, this is the problem with everyone knowing each other. When we were talking about the IgG information, the judge, he decided that he was going to look at all of the IgG information that the prosecution has. And he was going to decide what information that the defense should be allowed to see. Now, if you think about this, in my opinion, this kind of creates a conflict of interest because now the judge has seen all of the evidence, the IgG evidence that the prosecution has, and is limiting that evidence to what the defense can see. So now the judge is going to have information, and the judge now has seen information that the defense is not going to get to see. So now the prosecution and the judge share knowledge that the defense doesn't know anything about. So that would seem like a conflict of interest to me. This is a capital case, and Ann Taylor continues to reiterate that this is a capital case. The courts continue to reiterate that we only want to do this one time. Because Brian Koberger, he's going to, depending on if he's, on the verdict, he could appeal this over and over and over. So the courts continue to reiterate, we only want to do this one time. That's probably a good thing because there is the chance that Brian Koberger could be found not guilty. There's definitely that chance. And at that point, that will be years down the road. People will have moved. Memories will have faded. And of course, we know that now the crime scene's gone. The house is gone. So if down the road in a couple of years after this trial, if Brian Koberger is found not guilty, then what? Then what happens? The crime scene's gone. A lot of these people, these witnesses will be gone. So I can understand why they would like to get this done in one trial. The prosecution seems pretty confident, so they must have the goods, right? Thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you like my content, please hit the like button. And please subscribe to my channel if you like my content. I really do appreciate it. We'll see you next time.